Thank you for tuning in again to Cruising on Empty. I'm your host, Soul. Today's video will be on the Porsche and how it came to be. So without further ado, let's get into the video. In 1937, when Germany was under control by Adolf Hitler, he ran the German Labor Front Party, which commissioned for the Volkswagen to be built. The Volkswagen and Porsche were created by Ferdinand Porsche. The Volkswagen was also called the People's Car. The first Porsche that was made in 1948 and was called the 356 Porsche. So the second Porsche was created in 1963 and was called the 901. But later on, as they went to market to sell the car, they changed it to the 911. So for the second and third generation, they were split up into F-Series and G-Series. So the F-Series, which was the second generation 911 Porsche, came out between 1965 and 1973. Then the third generation Porsche, which was the G-Series, came out in 1973 to 1989. And in 1974, Porsche made their first 911 Turbo. This is when they introduced the wheel wing on the back of the Porsche, which everybody knows, the old school Porsches with the big wheel wing on the back. So before I continue talking about the 911 Porsches, I have to mention Hans Mezger. He was a very important Porsche engine builder for the 911s. So Mezger was one of Porsche's famous engine builders. He came to work for Porsche in 1957. In the early 60s, Mezger started to develop engines for Porsche. He developed many famous engines for Porsche over the years, until the mid-90s when he retired but still stayed active for Porsche. The next 911 I will be talking about will be the Porsche 964. The 964 was a revolutionary member of the new 911 lineup. The new model was designed to captivate drivers with their rear-wheel drive Carrera and all-wheel drive Carrera. The next 911 Porsche I will be talking about is the Porsche 993. The Porsche 993 was loved by a lot of Porsche drivers because of the smooth elegance of its style. A lot of famous actors have this 993. Keanu Reeves is one, Denzel Washington is one, there's a few other celebrities that also have a 993. The turbo version was the first to have a bi-turbo engine. The 993 was the first car to use hollow-spoked aluminum wheels. The 993 was the last 911 that was air-cooled. I know a lot of people cried with that one. So the next 911 I will be talking about is the 996. The 996 was the first 911 Porsche to have a water-cooled motor. The 996 kept a lot of the original characteristics of the 911. A lot of the Porsche lovers hated the front look of the 996 because they felt it looked like fried eggs in the front. Basically the headlights. They felt the headlights looked like fried eggs. And then also it shared a lot with the Boxster Porsche, so they didn't like it. Porsche lovers, they're basically accustomed to one thing and they don't really like change. So unfortunately, the 996 didn't get a lot of love from Porsche lovers. So before I go on to talk about the 997, I will talk about the IMS bearing. The IMS bearing basically were on the engines that were in the 996 and the 997 and some Boxster motors. So what would happen, these motors were basically like grenades just waiting to explode. When the IMS bearing goes bad, you have metal shavings all throughout the motor, and in worst cases, the intermediate shaft will blow up. Sometimes, if you can catch it in time enough, you can get the engine rebuilt. If you don't, you have to get a whole new engine. Because of this issue, there was a class action lawsuit against Porsche. Now, the lawsuit basically were for owners of the car, and it would give you some money to replace it depending on your ownership of the car, all the way up to the full amount to replace the motor or get it to go. Now, there are some stipulations on that. It all depends on the ownership and if you were able to catch this class action lawsuit within a certain amount of time. So the next Porsche 911 I will be talking about will be the 997. So with the design of the 997, Porsche honed the 911's characteristics and gave it an even more dynamic and powerful appearance. The Carrera already looked noticeably more masculine with its strongly molded rear. So with the Carrera S, the GT, and the Turbo models, they made it a little bit wider in the rear end. So the next Porsche I will be talking about is the 991 and the 991.2. So basically, the 991 was the biggest engineering leap for Porsche. So for the first time ever for the 911, they used a hybrid system to construct their cars, which consisted of aluminum and steel, which made the car lighter and better on fuel. Also for the first time ever, they designed a system called PASM. Now, PASM stands for Porsche Active Suspension Management System, okay? The system adjusts the suspension for a more sportier feel down the road or on the track. You can also adjust suspension for a more comfortable ride down the road, okay? And then they also, first time ever, they designed Porsche's PDCC. So that stands for Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. That basically reduces body roll of the car going around the corner, so the car is more flatter. So I guess that would be more better for the track more than the actual road. And then also for the first time ever, they designed their first multimedia system, which was touchscreen for the 911. Okay, and then when the 991.2 came along, it evolved to be a better car than what the 991 was. So the next Porsche I will be talking about is the 992 Porsche. So for the 992 Porsche, nothing really great really happened for that year. It came out in 2018 or I think 2019, and all they did is redesign the body, updated the tech in the car, and gave it some more power. That's about it. So this is the current one we have, and it came out between 2018 2019 right around there. So far you guys joined me on the journey for the 9 generations of these Porsches. So we went through the F series, G series, 964, 993, 996, 997, 991, 991.2, 992. So as far as that goes, the Porsches, they're good cars. I have no issues with them. Volkswagens, they're good cars. I have no issue with them. But personally, my personal opinion, I would not own one because they were started by the Nazi Party, and the Nazi Party commissioned Ferdinand Porsche to build these cars. So with that being said, I personally would not want one. As far as the other car companies they own, I have no issues with them. So that's just my personal opinion on them. You're free to make your own decision on what you want to do and what you want to spend your money on. Now, thank you for joining me on this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace.